Good afternoon, everybody. Happy lunch. What day is today? I don't even remember. Today's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the Verified AMA Ask Me Anything. I'm your host, Lawton Ho, here with Verified Investing. And I go live every single day that the markets are open from 12:30 to 1:15 to answer all of your questions. So the way this works is you ask questions and I give you answers. You can ask me literally anything you want. You can ask me about myself. You can talk to me about verified investing. You can ask me about stocks, crypto, commodity charts, anything that you guys want. I'd be happy to answer. So hope you all have had a great day so far. You can scan this QR code down below to ask me some questions. Additionally, you can go to the verifiedinvesting.com homepage and ask your question. Now, if you're watching, wherever you're watching, I just ask you guys to do me a huge favor and go give us click the subscribe button on YouTube. Give us a follow on YouTube on the Verified Investing channel for more exclusive content. Really helps us out. And pushes the algorithm more so I can keep doing this, I can keep providing answers, and I can keep seeing your questions. So with that being said, what questions do you guys have for me today? How's everybody doing? Let's see. Luis says, Lawton, love the program. Thanks so much, Luis. Love your participation. Thank you so much for asking questions. Without your questions, I would just be a guy sitting here on camera uncomfortably and awkwardly for 45 minutes talking to himself. I'm basically doing that anyways, but at least this time we have a kind of a back and forth. So then let's go ahead and take a look at the markets. We saw a couple key things happen today in the S&P. Right, we had a deal announced with the potential Financial Times reported 15% tariff deal with the European Union. So let's hop right into it. Nathan says Tesla's earnings are at hand. Indeed, they are. Tesla's earnings come out today, right? Exactly today. Do you have any thoughts on the stock reaction? Will Tesla bears drag it down regardless of earnings, or will good earnings blow it out? Here's a couple things, right? And people were asking me, they asked me yesterday actually, you guys are, we're pretty heavily short the markets in general right now. Is Tesla a good short, right? Is Tesla at a good shortable level? My response is no. And here, let me tell you why. Right, everything else. Let's take a look. S&P, all-time highs. QQQ, NASDAQ, all-time highs. SMH, all-time highs. Microsoft, all-time highs. Nvidia, all-time highs. Apple, still down, right? And Tesla, still down over 32% from its all-time highs. Still down 32%. So that's why I'm not going to short it going into earnings, because I think that there's a lot more room that Tesla has to potentially run. Okay? A lot of room for it to potentially run. So, but here are my levels for Tesla earnings. So how much, and I do this every single time, how does Tesla normally move on earnings? Let's see the average move on earnings. 7.5% here, move on earnings. Let's check its movement here. About 5% up on earnings. Over here, let's check its movement on earnings. About 14%. And let's check over here on earnings, down about 8%. So we know that in general, we're expecting a move around 8-ish% on Tesla, barring anything out of the ordinary, right? So other than regular earnings. So we're going to be looking for levels on Tesla about 8-ish% on either side, 8 or 9% on either side of Tesla. And for me, the first level of support, and this is an aggressive level to go long on Tesla, is down here at around 7% lower at around 310.42 at this gap fill level. Okay. The next level of support I have on Tesla is down here around $295, just under $300 for 11% lower. And finally, my last level of support to go long on Tesla, should the earnings really be poor, it's about 18% lower. These, if you remember, these were the lows from when Trump and Elon got into it the first time, right? As far as resistance is concerned, I have this nice line up here around this 357.55 level for resistance, and an additional level up here around 368. Okay, 368. These are two levels of resistance on Tesla. Okay, so these are my key levels on Tesla. Do I know what's going to happen? Do I know what's going to happen on Tesla exactly? No, right? It's earnings, so it's kind of 50-50, right? Especially when something is trading kind of in the middle. It's up, yes, you're right. It's currently up over 55% from its Liberation Day lows, but it's still down, again, over 32% from its all-time highs. So it's kind of in this middle ground, right? So I'm not going to try and predict it. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I wouldn't be here. So what I'm doing is setting out levels, preparing myself, and looking to potentially trade it whichever way it goes. And there's actually a bunch of earnings happening after the bell today. And I'm going to give you a list of them. Let's see here. See if I can give you a list of them. Okay, so after the bell, there is CMGs, which is Chipotle Mexican Grill, IBM, MAT, NOW, ServiceNow, as well as Tesla. We're actually going to be trading these live, right? Going to be trading these earnings live for all of you guys to participate and be a part of. And if you're interested in that, you can check out Smart Money Stocks and ETFs. You get access to Gareth, Drew, Ben, all their swing trades, as well as Earnings Trader with all of us here. I'm going to be on there as well. Hopefully you take a nice win on Tesla. So we'll see. But definitely interested to see what's going to happen. Next question. Mike says, hi, Lawton. What's up, Mike? Hope you're doing well. What is a good price point to double down on a cat swing shorts? So Caterpillar, let's see. Wow, yeah, Caterpillar is pushing up significantly higher. My shortable level was double top around 418.47, right? I did mention this a couple, I believe it was last week in my AMA, that I would short it up here and could have taken about a 2% gain maximum on that level. However, Caterpillar gapped up above and pushed way past it to new all-time highs. And here's the problem, guys. When you're shorting things at all-time highs, yes, you're favoring a move to the downside. But the question is, when is that realistically going to happen? Right? When you're shorting things at all-time highs, they can go up, they can go up for the next year. Yes, they favor a move to the downside. Yes, they should get a pullback. But what if they don't? Then you're just opening yourself up to significant downside without great levels of resistance. So when you're kind of moving into things like all-time highs, you're really trying to look for really trend lines that could provide some resistance. That's the easiest way to find levels of resistance. Things with all-time highs. It's extremely difficult to do so. You see, I have this nice trend line over here. Let's see if it connects through anything else. Right, if I pull it down. Not quite. Almost to up here, right? We have, okay. Actually, that is pretty nice. Let me try and, okay, pull it through. Okay, so you have this beautiful trend line from its high in August 2021 through its previous all-time highs and then its previous all-time highs again. That would lead support potentially up 8 or 9% higher, right? Does that mean I'm going to go long? No. Like when we're finding these, using trend lines to find levels of resistance, that doesn't mean that actually, I'm going to turn this into a teachable moment. Okay, so when things are at all-time highs and we are using trend lines to try to find levels of resistance, that doesn't mean go long expecting because you think it's going to get there. Yes, the stock was likely to find and face resistance at this trend lines, but it doesn't necessarily mean that these trend lines need to hit. Yes, they can pull back from those trend lines, but they can also go halfway up and then fall, right? So if I'm in a short on Caterpillar and I'm looking for additional levels for a to double up my swing, I'm looking at trend lines, trying to find additional levels. We have an additional trend line here from the all-time highs in 2021 to the all-time highs in 24, and again in November of last year. And that would lead resistance somewhere around 6%, right? There's so many different trend lines that you can draw. There are almost endless possibilities, but the more significant these points are, whether it's a high pivot, previous all-time high, right? Pop on earnings, whatever it is, right? The better those data points are, the more significant and powerful those trend lines are likely to be. So, and I didn't even answer your question. Where would I double my swing on short on CAT? I'm not currently short this, but if I was, I'd look around 8% higher, about 560-ish, around the 560 level. Okay. Addy says, okay, I see a lot of questions about Ethereum. Let's bang it out. Again, guys, for those of you joining me, thank you so much for being here. My name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing, and I do this every single day. I go live from 12:30 to 1:15 to answer your questions. I'm going to answer these questions in the order in which they were asked. So if you want a higher likelihood chance of getting your question answered, just leave your question down below. You can scan this QR code or visit the verifiedinvesting.com website. Go to the homepage and click watch and ask and send me a question. And again, guys, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the Verified Investing YouTube channel and give this a like on whatever platform you're on. It really helps the algorithm and helps us keep this show alive and keep it free for all of you. Okay. Enough of the plugs. Let's go to the next question. How does Ethereum look in the short term? Addy says, let's take a look at Ethereum. So for me in Ethereum, I was pretty bullish on Ethereum. We had this nice inverse head and shoulders pattern. We had the neckline down here and the measured move, right? Unlikely to hit, but about a 63% move to the upside was that measured move. It went up 40%, which is pretty decent. Having quite a bit of down days right now, down about 4%. That's not surprising, as Bitcoin is also having a rough day, down about almost 2%. So back to Ethereum. Where do I anticipate to go in the short term? I expect a pullback. I expect to continue move up. Listen, how many things do you know? How many stocks, cryptocurrency, anything, right, has gone up 40% in a straight line, basically, without any major pullback? Not many. Right? And what I'm targeting for a bounce is basically the 50% retrace down here at around 3,300. You see, not only is that this nice little pivot that I have here, level for a bounce, it's also a 50% retrace of the move up from the break of that inverse head and shoulders pattern to the high, right? I expect it to come to around 3,300, and then potentially we might see a bounce there. But unlike Bitcoin, it's not at all-time highs. This, Ethereum was all the way almost near $5,000. So just like Tesla, has much more way to run, right? So an inverse head and shoulders on Ethereum is going to be more powerful than it is on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's at all-time highs and Ethereum is in the middle to the lower end of the spectrum. Okay. Dan says, what is your price prediction for Ethereum by the end of the day Friday? I have out of the money call butterfly expiring on Ethereum futures. It's hard for me to say. This isn't financial advice. I just look at the charts and tell you what I think probabilities are telling me, right? And I'm not perfect. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong many times again. But it wouldn't surprise me if it fell down to around 3,300 by end of the day on Friday. That's only 2 days. So about an 8% move in 2 days. You'd have to basically have 2 more days like today. So is it going to hit by Friday? Unlikely. So I'd target somewhere around 34.70, basically $100 lower. By Friday, I think that's a safe bet. Again, I could be wrong. Louis saying, is Dow, the DW, is Dow forming cup and handle? Yes. Beautiful cup and handle pattern. And then you can see kind of where that measured move is. About 14% higher, so this looks bullish to me. Also, you could argue it's also an inverse head and shoulders pattern, right? It's a bunch of different things. Same thing. Same measurement. Inverse head and shoulders, down sloping neckline. Yep. Looks bullish. For me, I'd likely take profits ahead. The measured move around 34.86. Okay. Next question, and I'm sorry, guys, if I'm a little slow. I'm going to try and do my best to get to all of your questions. Thank you so much for joining me and asking me these questions. Vaughn saying, hey, Lawton, what do you think of NRG, and where do you think Tesla and Google could do for earnings after hours? I did cover Tesla earlier. These are my levels of support and resistance for Tesla. There are these lines over here. Tesla generally moves around 8% off of earnings, and I have accounted for that with these levels of support and resistance. You can always pause the video and rewatch it if you want to see these levels again. As far as Google is concerned, Google also has earnings today. Wow, everything just has earnings today. We're trading it live after the bell. But anyways, let's remove all of these funny looking drawings and see how much does Google tend to move off of earnings. Nothing burger there, about 2% there. Here had bad earnings, 7% drop. There's dividend. How about this? 6% move. And finally, okay, so we know that Google generally doesn't move a whole lot. We're looking at 5 to 6-ish%, 7 to 8% if you're talking about extreme volatility on Google. So I don't expect this to move a whole lot. For me, my levels of support and resistance, let's look for levels around 5 to 6% lower. For support, you have a nice pivot low here. This pivot low proved to be some nice support in the past. And then if earnings are really, really awful, you have these levels around 166, 165, right? 13%. That would be massive for Google. As far as levels of resistance, everyone's targeting this nice gap fill. If Google really smashes it out of the park, this would be the first level I'd be interested in shorting it. And then you have double top up here on 207, right? On 207. You could draw some trend lines and try and see if that provides you anything better. Look at that beautiful trend line right there, connecting this pivot high perfectly to this pivot high and this pivot high. That would lead to resistance around 6%, around this $200 level. Also, the $200 level is a big psychological level for the stock. So that could be the mark where we see a pullback should price move up off of earnings. Okay, and NRG. Let's take a look at NRG. Energy. Okay, so let's see. Okay, had a nice move up today. Gapped up, looks to be approaching highs. I would short it at all-time highs right there. But great pullback on it intraday. I don't really have too much on this chart, but I consider a short at this double top. Harsh saying if a stock is at all-time highs, how can we determine the next potential resistance levels? I did cover that earlier. I'm just reading these questions a little late because there's so many of your questions. All right, let's keep going. Louis saying, is Carvana a good short into earnings? Seems to be selling off prior. I'm not in the business of trading things into earnings. I don't do that. It's like gambling. If you want to gamble, right? If you want to gamble, then go to the casino, play blackjack, right? I'm not going to do that with earnings. I'm not going to short or go long necessarily into earnings unless it's painfully obvious which direction it's going to go. Let's take a look at this. Look at Carvana. Broke this beautiful upsloping trend line, and you see it tumbling down. My level of support on Carvana is down here around $319, but I need to see price action closer, to earnings. If in the next 7 days, Carvana pushes up, makes new all-time highs, past this 377, continues higher, I would consider potentially shorting a small position in Carvana into earnings, but it looks like it's likely going to fall with this upsloping trend line break. Harsh saying, how can I identify the best stocks for day trading? That's an amazing question, and a question that we get all of the time. There's a couple of things that you can do. You can set up scanners, right? You can look up different stocks, set up scanners to find what stocks are moving the most. So these are stocks that I like trading. And you see that the things that are up the most is like SoundHound up 4% today. I look at this at a level. Let's look at a random one of these stocks, Alibaba. You see I have all these lines on. If price got to that level, I would likely get an alert. Let's look at APP. So you see here I have an alert to short APP here at 366. Never quite got up there, but 366 was my level to short APP. I just go through the charts, set some levels, and if they hit, they hit. Everyone has kind of a different way to do it, and you can customize your watch list, create different watch lists. Like here, you can check out the U.S. exchanges percentage gainers, what has gained the most, or the volume gainers, what has the most amount of volume change today. So there's plenty of different ways to set up your own scanners and find stocks to potentially day trade. Okay. Ooh. It's a nice quick round question. Let's keep going to Constantine, ENPH. Yeah, I'm going to look to take a tenths off here at 36.66. My stop was below 35.90. But looks like it's bouncing, so it's good. I like this kind of sideways consolidation. Want to find a move higher on ENPH. Mancool says, hey, Lawton, what do you think are good levels to buy Ethereum? I did talk about this earlier, but I'm sure that I've already answered your question. 3,300 is my level to potentially see it bounce, or I'd love a retrace to this neckline of this inverse head and shoulders pattern. Damien says, hello, teacher. Great platform you guys have. God bless. Can you give your take on a day trade of MSTR? Thank you for your kind words. I like to think of myself as just another just a friend, right? Just the guy doing my best to try to provide value to all of you. So thank you so much for joining me, Damien. So if you're looking for a day trade specifically on MSTR, I don't have anything right now. It's trading at the lows. I'll give you my day trading level today on MSTR. Trading hours. Let's take a look at this. So if I had to trade MSTR today for day trade, I'd look for a Pierce of 412, maybe below, maybe around 411, excuse me, for 411.93. I'd go long and look for maybe $2.50 for a bounce on MSTR. If you told me I had to day trade it, that would be my level. RJ says, hi, Lawton. Could EMPH drop to 34.75 for a long? Doesn't bounce today. Do you think selling would continue? So kind of interesting. ENPH originally popped on earnings, then pulled back and fell decently. My level of support there, I'd be likely interested for a swing trade is 34.45, right? For a long, is it going to hit that level today? I doubt it. But around this 34.45 level would be a level I'd be comfortable entering along with an add around $33. Okay. Harsh saying, which automated setups do you find most effective on TradingView? I'm not sure what you mean. If you're talking about indicators, I love VWAP, volume weighted average price. It is my favorite indicator. Nino says, hi, Lawton. Just got back from a trip to Europe. That sounds fun. Been gone a month. Following up on your stock trade, where did you stand and what is your current view? I left when you expected around $12. I'm at $9.93. What are your thoughts? Yeah, for me, I'm still in stocks. My last ad on SOXS was at $7. My next ad was at $6.80, never quite hit. My average is somewhere around $7.94, I believe. $7.94, I think my average is. So still bullish on SOXS. I have an entire account dedicated to SOXS. Michael says, hi, Lon. I just signed up for the Apex room today. When any of the so first of all, welcome, Michael. We're so happy to have you. When any of the traders put out a trade like a 1/10 position, are all the traders pulling from the same pool of money, or am I supposed to have an individual pool of money for each trader? They're separate accounts, right? Separate. We're not pulling from the same pool. Let's see. Next question here. Martin says, hey, Lawton, a very good afternoon to you as well. Martin, thanks for coming back. Happy to see you every single day. Are gaps measured between the candle wicks or the candle bodies? Bodies. These are the bodies right here. This body to the opening. The closing price on this day down here and to the opening price of the next day. That is your gap, right? And a gap would be filled if price gets below it, even if it's a wick. Okay. Sarah says, thank you, Lawton. Of course, thank you, Sarah, for always being here. On the OXT chart, okay. On the OXT chart, how to use Gann square box to estimate the time frame of when OXT will hit support. How do I set a chart image here? So I've never used the Gann square box before. That's not technical indicator I've previously used. But if you guys want to share your charts with me, have me look at your charts, analyze your analysis, I'll show you how to do that on TradingView. And you can do this if you have, even if you have the free subscription to TradingView. Click on this little camera on the top right. It says take a snapshot. And then you can click here and say copy the link. You can copy the link and send it to me in the chat, and I'll go ahead and open your chart. But yeah, I've never used the Gann box, but if you're looking for for the area that OXT will likely hit support. I'm looking down here around 56 cents, around 5% lower. Mandy says, hi, Lawton. What's up, Mandy? Can you take a look at the ETF ARKF for support and resistance levels? Sure. ARKFin, what is ARKF? Let me see what's in an ETF. Okay. Regardless, for my ARKF, you're looking for support and resistance levels. For me, you have this nice upsloping trend line, favors a move to the downside. For me, support, first level support is this nice gap fill. Nice gap fill, 4% lower, an additional one here, and another nice one over here. You have a support level here. As far as resistance is concerned, look at this 5520 level is a place where it previously pulled back from, and just below $56 is an additional level of resistance. You see that that is perfectly where our ARKF pulled back previously off of this previous pivot high. Let me find some other levels of resistance for ARKF over here. You're likely to find resistance here and here, and I'm like whispering because I'm trying to hone in and give you some good levels. So these are my levels on ARKF for support and resistance. I know you probably weren't expecting 4 support and resistance levels, but these are my levels for ARKF support and resistance, each of these little lines. You can go ahead and pause your screen, take a picture, or rewatch this later if you want to revisit it. But these are my levels for support and resistance on ARKF. Wow, I feel like I've been nonstop talking. Probably because I have been nonstop talking. Brenda says, can you check on Tiva chart for a swing, please? Absolutely. Anything you want. Tiva Pharmaceuticals. This isn't a company I've traded before. Sorry about that. Okay, I got the mute in time. I felt myself about to sneeze, so I'm just happy I caught that before I sneezed. Okay. Oof, Tiva. Again, not a company I've previously traded, but the reason why I say that isn't because I don't think that my analysis is valid. It's just important for you to know, just for full transparency. Okay, so Tiva actually gapped up above and is trying to break this down sloping trend line. Does have earnings in 7 days, so be careful. For me on Tiva, if it can hold this level and close above this line tomorrow, likely going to see price action move up at least $1, right? My target would be about $1 to the upside on Tiva. But of course, if it doesn't do that within the next 7 days, on earnings, anything could happen. On earnings, your guess is as good as mine, right? And here's the thing. Although there is this great downsloping trend line that Tiva is breaking down from, you could also say, oh, but what about this? What about this upsloping trend line that if it breaks below, you could see a significant fall down 15%? You can make an argument both ways. But if it can hold above this downsloping trend line and upsloping trend line, I'm likely predicting a move up around $1 higher. Okay. Geez, that sneeze took everything out of me. I don't even think I'm alive anymore. Paul says, hi, Lon. What's up, Paul? What's going on? Can you take a look at UEC? Absolutely, 100%, of course. I'd be happy to. Uranium Energy Corporation. I think we've talked about this so much. And where did UEC pull back today? Look at that. Perfectly at the previous pivot high. And we had a decent fall. Went a little bit higher, 4%, but fell about 3% from that level beautiful day trade could have been had there, but it is a smaller company. For me, my next level of resistance on UEC, should it continue higher, is right here on this double top. And then you could, as I've demonstrated previously, do a pull a trend line, try to find additional levels of resistance. But right now, this is the line in the sand, this 848-ish area. If you can close above there, you'll likely see a move higher, and resistance around here at previous highs, just under $9. Should it come down, I would be potentially interested in being a buyer somewhere around just under $7, around $6.92. The reason why I say that, you've had a move up 43% in almost a straight line. So yeah, I'm anticipating a pullback. But if price keeps going lower, you could be forming a nice topping tail on the daily on UEC and be looking for a move lower. It could potentially be a good shorting opportunity. God, I'm running out of mouth. Oof. Luis says, Lawton, what's up, Luis? If you wanted to take a short on any stock, would you rather buy a put or sell an out of the money call? I would do neither. I would just short it. So I wouldn't do options. I would just short it. If you have a margin account, you can short a stock and short sell it, and you'll make money as the stock comes lower. I would not, yeah. Emmanuel says, has Rivian bottomed? What's a good entry price and what's a good exit price? Look at this beautiful downsloping trend line. Rivian couldn't get above, couldn't close above, and finally look at this. Try to move up, still close below, retrace to it, and now it's off to the races. For me, has it bottomed? Hard to tell, right? Because if you look at the chart, you could say, yeah, it definitely favors a move to the upside on Rivian. For me, if I wanted to buy this, if I was conservative and wanted to buy it, I'd wait for a retrace. But you're talking about 10% lower, right? I'd wait for a retrace to this trend line because we know how powerful this trend line has been in the past. Okay, but if you're more aggressive and just wanted to get some skin in the game, I'd look to be a buyer potentially here around 1362. Potentially be a buyer there, and I would add on a dollar lower every dollar or so. That's if you're being aggressive. Warren says, do you ever use a fib extension? Yeah, I do sometimes. Not the most. If you use a fib extension there, you could see that this level here, where it bounced off, is 382. And that's the same area that I'd likely be a buyer on a retrace. Okay. Harsh saying, hi, Lawton. Thanks for the show. Thanks for watching. Harsh, could you please take a look at KSS? I'm stuck since it was at an all-time high. KSS, Coles. Oh, no. It was not. You were stuck here in 2021. KSS, I said I was bullish on it previously, and I gave my levels to buy. It went crazy. This is kind of like a meme stock. For me, I'm gonna be real with you. I would not touch this until gap fill around 1043. That's the first level I'd be interested in even touching KSS. All right. Oof. All right, guys, I'm going to be live for the next 5 or 6 minutes. If you guys have any additional questions, feel free to leave them down below. But as always, thank you so much for watching, guys. It really means a lot that all of you guys would take time out of your day to even care about what I have to say. Right. And I'm glad that I can provide the service to you and provide some sort of value and insight into some of these positions. So thank you so much for your questions, as always. Har says, what are your go-to automated strategies or indicators on TradingView? I don't have automated strategies that I use. I'm like a manual guy. For me, my most popular, I use this every single day. Every day. Okay. These are, I don't know if I hit something, but anyways, these are the indicators that I use every single day on TradingView. Number one is VWAP. Okay, so this is particularly for day trading. And now what VWAP is the volume weighted average price, right? I can see where price is likely to find support, resistance, and this nice blue line of VWAP generally serves as support and resistance. The second indicator that I use is something called RSI. It's the relative strength index. It kind of tells me, similar to VWAP, how overextended a stock or chart is to the upside or downside. And the third thing I look at every single day when I'm trading is the volume. Kind of an indicator, kind of not. It just tells me, wow, okay, this move had a lot of volume. That means that a lot of money is flowing in. Why is that? What's the reason? Could there be news? And of course, this was when the trade deal with the European Union was announced by the Financial Times. Jose says, hey, what's up, Jose? How's it going, man? Be live for 3 more minutes. So if you have a question, guys, scan that QR code, submit your question, or forever hold your peace until tomorrow. Jose says, should I start putting more money into XRP? I can't tell you what to do with your money. But I can tell you what I would do. Or should I wait till I learn more about trading? Yeah, look at this. XRP, similar to Ethereum, similar to Bitcoin. I've been talking about this. Inverse head and shoulders, super bullish. Actually hit that measured move perfectly. Actually went a little bit above it, but you saw this beautiful trend line that I drew through here. That was the level of resistance, and XRP falling back down to earth. Where is a level that I expect resistance or support rather on XRP? Likely here under $3, around $2.92. That's the level that I'm looking for support on XRP. Last question here from Paul saying, hey, Lawton, please check AR. Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Ontario Resources Corporation, again, not something I previously traded. However, I will do my best to give you some useful information about what I would do if I was trading the stock. Looks bearish, man. It had this beautiful upsloping trend line, and I'm sure I could pull another one if I wanted to. Right, looks bearish. For me, level of support, I guess around $30 level. That could be a good level. That's the pivot low here for the Liberation Day lows, compounded with the psychological $30 level, right? And on top of that, you have an additional add level around $29.25. If you told me, Lawton, you have to trade Antero Resources, I'd be like, okay, I'm a buyer at $30 and I'm also a buyer at $29.25 exactly. And says, is August 8th, 2025 a possible pivot? Thank you for sending me your chart. I have a minute left, so I'll do my best to take a look at this. Is that a possible pivot? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Martin says, thanks, Lawton. Good job. Thanks for watching. All right, guys, that's it for me. Again, thank you so much for watching my Verified AMA. My name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing. I do this every single day from 12:30 to 1:15, which is now. Go ahead and go to Verified Investing YouTube channel. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe. It really helps the algorithm. If you guys have more questions and I didn't get to, you can feel free to send them to me on Twitter at Lawton Investing. Again, my Twitter is at Lawton Investing. Just send me a DM. I'd be happy to answer it. Or come back to the verifiedinvesting.com YouTube channel tomorrow, same time, same place, same person. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Best of luck trading. Don't forget, we're going to be trading Google, Tesla, IBM, Chipotle Mexican Grill. We're going to trade a bunch of things after the bell. So be sure to check that out on the Smart Money Stocks and ETFs. And I think we're actually going to go live for the live day trading room in about 15 minutes. So if you're on YouTube, you can join us for a free session on the live day trading room. Anyways, have a great day, guys. Take it easy. And I'll see you all tomorrow or later today. Bye, guys.